Good morning, class. How have you been? I hope you guys are doing well and keeping safe and enjoying your classes that have been given to you these days through the online mode. We are going to continue the discussion on the third module that I have been teaching. So probably it could have been a bit too much for the initial classes itself to have been introduced to very complicated concepts. We have been focusing on power, and also we have discussed how literature is not just something that we read for fun and pleasure, but rather this is a very significant social text. So whenever, as students of literature, we read a literary work, we should read between the lines. That is, for whichever literary work, there will be a very normal kind of a meaning that we can imbibe when we read that work, right? But behind that meaning, for a literature student, when that student reads a literary work, whether it be a poem, whether it be a novel, there are many things that the student has to look into. Unlike an ordinary man who reads for pleasure and just for probably giving him a kind of cathartic feeling that reading could provide, when a student of literature is reading a literary work, they should look into the social implications of that text. That is, I have given you that quote that behind every book is a man, and behind that man is the race, and behind that race is the natural and social environments that influence the race or that shape the race. So every literary work is a social or a cultural artifact. The poem that you're reading, the novel that you're reading, it's not just a fiction or a work of imagination, but also there are reflections of the society in it. When a writer sits down to write something, he's not writing as an isolated individual, but rather the influences of his society reflect in that work, and we can read between the lines of that work, or we can read beyond the ordinary meaning or the normal meaning of that work, or the taken for granted meaning of that work, to understand more about the society which forms that kind of a literary work. I hope this idea is clear. So next time you read even a nursery rhyme, there are many social ideas that can be read into those lines. So I hope that idea is clear. And one concept that we can read in many of these literary works which we learned is, of course, that of power, which is suggested by Michel Foucault. That is, we understood that the world is actually the society is actually a network of power relations, and there is power dynamics, or there is a power play in all kinds of human interactions. There is will to power in most human actions. That is, when somebody narrates oneself as one kind of a person or one kind of an individual, there is a will to power. Or when some community or some individual is trying to gain certain kind of privileges through their actions, or trying to make others think or act in a particular direction through something that they say or do, there is this will to power. And this power play can also be seen in literature. When we read literary works, we can understand the will to power of the author, maybe in choosing a certain kind of ideas. We can understand the will to power of certain characters, maybe. In character creation itself, there could be some kind of will to power. Some male characters could be given more privileges than female characters. Some economically powerful characters may have been given more privileges than poor characters. Some community could be given more privileges in a literary work than other communities. So all these are actually a result of power play. So when we, the students of literature, read literary work, we can look into all these aspects. So reading a literary text now becomes a very socially significant activity. I hope these ideas are clear. I was just revising all these ideas so that you get a glimpse of it. Okay, I know that this is probably a bit too much for a beginner, but we will enjoy this process. All this while we have been thinking that literary works actually give us some meaning, and we understand that meaning. But now we understand that for a student of literature, it's not just about reading and understanding, but also reading and questioning. Every literary work that you take up, you're not just reading and understanding what the work is trying to convey, but rather you are asking questions against that work so that you can understand more about the society from which that work is born. So you're problematizing that work. you're questioning that work, so that it can tell you more about the society of which this literary work is a product. I hope these ideas are clear. We'll continue further in the coming classes. Think of all these ideas and be ready for the next video. Thank you.